My son beat his little sister for breaking his computer. I never thought people were capable of such a thing. But it happened. Thank you for watching and don't forget subscribe and like. My name is Karen, and if there's one thing I've always prided myself on, it's keeping our family running like a well-oiled machine. My husband, Dave, works long hours as an engineer, and I've been holding down the fort at home since our first child, Jonah, was born. He's 15 now. Smart, moody, and spends more time on his computer than he does breathing fresh air. Then there's Lily. Sweet, talkative, and 9 years old going on 30. They couldn't be more different, and yet they used to be inseparable. Our mornings usually play out like a sitcom rerun. I make breakfast, Dave grabs his coffee on autopilot, Jonah grunts in response to anything that sounds like conversation, and Lily tells me 5 different stories before 8 a.m. On that Tuesday, everything felt normal. The kids argued over cereal, I diffused it with a joke, and Dave kissed me on the cheek before rushing out the door. Jonah was sulking because Lily had used his headphones without asking. Lily, of course, claimed she didn't know they were his. I gave them both the same look I give when I know they're both half right and all annoying. Can we not do this every morning? I said, pouring orange juice like it was a peace offering. They mumbled and parted ways. Jonah to his room. Lily to her homework. Later that day, I ran errands, folded laundry, texted Dave about dinner, and reminded Jonah 3 times to take out the trash. He didn't. When I checked on him, he was glued to his monitor, gaming with his headset on, completely unreachable. Typical. Lily was in the living room drawing. She asked if she could use Jonah's old tablet to look up references for her art. I hesitated but said yes. I should have said no. God, if I could rewind. That evening, the house had that midweek quiet hum. I was chopping vegetables in the kitchen, Lily was humming while coloring, and Jonah had barricaded himself in his room again. The only time he emerged was to raid the fridge and grunt in response to my question about school. Fine, he said. His favorite word lately. I tried not to take it personally. I remembered what it was like to be 15. Hormones, high school, the constant pressure to fit in and stand out all at once. Lily, on the other hand, had made me a drawing of our family with giant heads and tiny bodies. She handed it to me proudly. Look, I even drew Jonah's headphones. Sweetheart, maybe let's not bring up the headphones again today, I said, smiling anyway. She giggled and skipped off, clutching her drawing. Then, just as I was wiping my hands and heading toward the laundry room, I heard it. A loud crash. Then a scream. Lily. I dropped the basket and ran. I bolted up the stairs, my heart jackhammering in my chest. The scream still rang in my ears. When I pushed open Jonah's door, it was like walking into a frozen moment of chaos. Lily was on the floor, one hand clutching her wrist, sobbing. Jonah stood in the middle of the room, his monitor shattered on the floor, fists clenched and face pale with rage. What happened? I yelled. Neither of them answered at first. Lily finally choked out. I didn't mean to. I was just trying to open the file. And then it fell. Jonah exploded. She shouldn't have touched it. I told you she messes with my stuff. He kicked the corner of his bed, and I flinched at the sharp crack of wood. I knelt beside Lily, checking her over. Her wrist was red but not broken. Her tears were hot against my shirt as I hugged her. Everyone out, I said firmly. Jonah, go downstairs. Now. He glared at me, jaw working, but stormed out without a word. I helped Lily up and into the bathroom. I cleaned her up, reassured her, told her it was okay. But it wasn't. Something in Jonah had snapped. Later that night, when Dave came home, I told him everything. He sighed heavily, rubbed his eyes and said, They're siblings, Karen. They fight. This wasn't a fight, I snapped. He scared her. He scared me. Dave looked unconvinced. I'll talk to him. He did. But Jonah just said Lily broke his monitor and deserved to be yelled at. I tried to sleep that night, but I couldn't. Around 2 a.m. I crept back into Jonah's room. He was asleep, slack-jawed, one arm thrown over his face. I sat at his desk. His laptop was still open. That's when I saw the browser tabs. Searches like, how to erase hard drive remotely. Can someone recover deleted files from USB? Hiding files from parents or school. And one that made my stomach clench. What happens if you hit someone and they tell? I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I closed the lid, walked back to my room, and lay awake until sunrise. Over the next few days, Jonah changed. He wasn't just moody anymore. He was sullen, edgy. Everything anyone said seemed to set him off. When Lily entered the room, he left. When she laughed, he scowled. When she tried to talk to him, he stared through her like she didn't exist. It was like a wire had been pulled loose in him. I tried to talk to him after school one afternoon. He was at his desk again, but not gaming this time. Just staring at a blank screen. "Jonah," I said gently. "Can we talk?" "Busy." "You're not doing anything." He didn't answer. Just clenched his jaw. I sat on the edge of his bed. "I'm worried about you. What happened with Lily?" "It wasn't okay. She wrecked my stuff," he muttered. "You hurt her. That's not just stuff." He turned to me, eyes blazing. "You always take her side. Because she's 9, Jonah. She didn't deserve to be shoved or screamed at." He stood up. "Then maybe you should ask her what she was really doing with that USB stick." I blinked. "What are you talking about?" He leaned in, voice low. "She was snooping. Spying. That little brat's always in my stuff. You think she's some angel, but she's not." That night I watched Lily during dinner. She seemed more subdued. Fidgety. When I tucked her in, I finally asked, "Sweetheart, did you open anything on Jonah's computer?" She hesitated, then nodded. "There was a folder," she whispered. "It said, 'Do not open.' I thought it was like a prank. But it had pictures. Weird ones. And a video." I closed it really fast. My blood ran cold. "What kind of pictures, Lily?" She shook her head. "I don't know. Just bad." That night, Dave and I argued. I told him what Lily said. He accused me of jumping to conclusions. "He's our son, Karen. Not a criminal. He's angry. He's hiding things. And our daughter is afraid of him." Dave folded his arms. "You want to dig through his files like a cop?" "No," I said. "Like a mother." I went back to Jonah's room the next day while he was at school. I turned on his laptop, plugged in the USB I found in the trash, and opened the folder. And I understood why Lily cried. I don't even remember backing away. I just know I ended up on the floor, my heart racing. My hands were shaking as I closed the laptop. Jonah came home early that day. And the first thing he asked was, "Where's my USB?" My mind was racing as Jonah stood in the hallway, waiting for an answer. "Where's my USB?" I lied. I told him I hadn't seen it. He narrowed his eyes, muttered something under his breath, and walked off. I stayed frozen, every muscle in my body tense. That was the moment I realized we were past the point of grounding or lectures. This wasn't teenage angst. This was something darker. That night I didn't sleep. Neither did Dave. We finally sat down and had the talk we should have had weeks ago. The kind of talk you never want to have about your own child. We agreed to call a therapist. We also agreed not to mention the USB to Jonah. The first session was rough. Jonah barely spoke. The therapist, a calm woman named Yvonne, tried, but he sat there with his arms crossed and eyes dead. Lily, meanwhile, wouldn't even be in the same room. A week later, the school called. Jonah had gotten into a fight. He said the other boy was teasing him. The school said Jonah started it. Either way, he came home with a busted lip and a 2-day suspension. I watched him that night from the kitchen while he sat on the couch, flipping channels with the remote like he hadn't just thrown a punch at another kid. Lily walked into the room and froze when she saw him. He glanced at her. "What are you staring at?" She ran back upstairs. I followed. She was curled on her bed, knees to her chest. I sat beside her and waited. "I don't want him here," she whispered. "I know," I said. "We're trying to help him." "He's not broken," she said. "He's just mean." I didn't know how to argue with that. That weekend, Dave and I fought. For real. No raised voices, just long, cold silences and muttered blame. He accused me of turning Jonah into a villain. I accused him of being in denial. "You're treating this like it's a phase," I said. "But it's not. He's spiraling. He's our son. And she's our daughter. She's terrified of him, Dave. We can't just keep pretending this is normal." He left the room without replying. That night I couldn't find Jonah. His bed was empty. His phone was off. I checked the garage, the basement, the backyard. Nothing. Then I saw the open window in the downstairs bathroom. He was gone. The police found Jonah 2 towns over the next morning. He'd been picked up walking down a side road, hoodie up, earbuds in, no phone, no ID. Just a wallet with $16 and a photo of our family, creased and faded. They called it a runaway attempt. I called it a cry for help. He didn't talk much when we brought him home. Just sat in the back seat, head against the window. Dave tried to break the silence with a joke. Jonah didn't even blink. When we got back, Lily was still at her grandmother's. We agreed not to bring her back until we had answers. Real ones. That night Jonah finally spoke. I didn't know what else to do. We were sitting in the living room, just the 2 of us. He looked older somehow. Tired. I felt like everyone hated me. Even you. Especially Lily. No one hates you, I said quietly. But we're scared for you. He rubbed his face like he was trying to wipe off everything he'd been holding in. I didn't mean to hurt her. Or anyone. But when she went through my stuff. Jonah, what was in that folder? He didn't answer. I need to know. Not because I want to punish you. But because I need to understand. To help. He hesitated, then whispered. Things from online. Stuff I shouldn't have downloaded. I was angry. And curious. And stupid. He told me more. About the forums. The chats. The people who made him feel heard, even if they were dangerous. He said it started as jokes. Memes. But it turned into more. A place that fed his anger. Validated it. He told me how some of those files were things he didn't even understand when he saved them. How he was afraid to delete them because that would mean admitting he ever looked in the first place. Shame turned into secrecy. Secrecy into rage. I thought if anyone found out, you'd think I was a freak, he said. No, I told him, tears in my eyes. I think you're a kid who got overwhelmed. That doesn't make you bad. That week, we enrolled him in a different kind of therapy. One for adolescents dealing with digital trauma and behavioral issues. We installed parental controls, locked down every device in the house, and set up daily check-ins. Not as punishments but as structure. Dave and I also started counseling. Together. Separately. As parents. Because we were learning that this wasn't just a Jonah issue. This was a family system reboot. We brought Lily home 3 weeks later. At first she stayed in her room. Her drawings were darker. Lonelier. But slowly things shifted. She started leaving notes for me under my pillow. Little stick figures holding hands. Her and me. Her and Daddy. Her and Jonah. Standing far apart, with a broken heart drawn between them. One day she left a drawing outside his door. A tiny olive branch with cartoon faces and the words, "Don't be mean." He taped it to his wall. It wasn't magic. He didn't transform overnight. There were setbacks, shouting matches, slammed doors, silent dinners. But there were also small wins. One night, Jonah helped Lily with her math homework. She didn't say much, but she didn't leave the room either. Another day, she laughed at one of his sarcastic comments at dinner. Just a little. But I caught the flicker of a smile on Jonah's face when she did. And eventually, the 3 of us sat down together to rewatch one of those silly old cartoons they used to binge as kids. Jonah didn't say much. Lily leaned on me instead of him. But we were in the same room. Together. It's not a happy ending. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But it's a beginning. We're learning how to be a family again. Slower. More honest. Less perfect. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.